For my research topic, I chose to look at current standard farming practices in Australia and whether Australia could survive off these practices if the population continued to grow. I identified that the main issue of current farming practices included severe soil erosion, uncontrollable weather, climate change, water supply, and access to farmable land. Many farmers still use conventional farming methods, whilst others have chosen to use organic methods of farming. Because of this, there has been a lot of debate about which method is more sustainable and will produce more food. Within my research, I discovered that in Australia, 61% of the land is used for agriculture and farming, with farms producing enough food to feed around 60 million people, both in Australia and around the world. On the 18th of January 2015, Australia's population was predicted to be 23,714,505 people. Currently, we produce enough food for Australia to survive. However, it's predicted that the population in Australia will increase by around 35.5 million by 2056. This would see an increased demand for food and therefore a higher demand in farming. With the climate being unpredictable, this could assist with land erosion and salinity. If this happens, it may become difficult for farmers to grow certain crops and keep healthy livestock. With these numbers in mind and the issues that face Australian farmers, it's possible that current Australian farming practices will not produce enough food to sustain the growing population in Australia. With sustainability in mind, a major concern of current conventional farming practices is the heavy use of synthetic chemicals, fertilisers, and how they affect the environment. These chemicals can affect the land on which Australians farm and the products that consumers buy. A benefit of organic farming is that the use of chemicals is reduced, and organic farms aim to produce high-quality foods whilst increasing the fertility of soil, minimising pollution, and using renewable resources. In order to provide enough food to sustain Australia, it's necessary for Australia to have enough farmable land. With the use of chemicals in conventional farming, this could see a decrease in the availability of farmable land for the future. Farmers in Australia face a wide range of ecological concerns, some of these including soil erosion, disease, weather, and water supply. The impacts of climate change could increase the frequency of pest and weed outbreaks and extreme weather events, which in turn could constrain productivity. Climate change could also have an effect on water supply used for irrigation to grow crops and provide water for livestock. Native vegetation, pollinating insects, animal pests, and weeds can also have an impact on Australian farms. Native vegetation assists in food production by helping to regulate the climate, providing shelter and food for animals, assisting with pest control and pollination, and controlling wind speeds that can harm crops. I believe Australia would benefit in the future with less conventional and more organic farming. The reason for this is that with the growing amount of ecological concerns that face Australian farmers, organic farming methods appear to be cleaner on the environment and more sustainable for the future. If Australian farmers continue to use conventional farming methods as the population expands, there would not be the resources to provide and sustain the population. Other factors to address in relation to whether Australian farms can provide enough food for the future is the unpredictability of climate change and possible severe weather such as drought or flood. This is something that can't be predicted, therefore cannot be planned for in the foreseeable future. I also feel that as the population grows, so will the need for food, putting a lot of pressure onto Australia's farming industry. I believe that this will result in costs of food increasing, making it impossible for the average household to purchase enough food. As a country, I believe that the Australian government has made a positive step towards providing a sustainable future through introducing the National Food Plan. However, I also believe that if the individuals of Australia don't play their part in providing and thinking about the future, that there might come a time when food will become unavailable to Australian families.